Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unique Genius in 33. We are wrapping up our 34. We're almost to the end, and I am super excited today to have Korey with us, who is going to talk about his woo. That woo is all about winning others over. So, Korey, do us a favor. Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you are, and what you do, and be sure to slip those top five in for us as well.
All right. So, like I said, or like you said, my name is Corey Adams. I am currently living in Jackson, Tennessee. I've been here all my life, and I just finished college. So I work with a local escape room company, and we sort of are trying to move into doing more training using the Strengths Finders curriculum. With that, my top five are ideation, woo, strategic, communication, and positivity. So
We're
I,
almost twins.
yeah. So
We're almost friends. Positivity is at number 10. Otherwise, I share all of those, two through six. It's funny.
Yeah, well, so I am basically tasked with going out, meeting new people, networking, and making connections for the escape rooms as sort of conduit for more community outreach and aid to the local businesses to grow the business relationships in Jackson, because it's relatively small. We have about 100,000 people serviced by the businesses in Jackson. Um, and a lot of the businesses don't communicate, or they don't have the resources at their disposal that other businesses have in bigger cities who may already have ways to do trainings and structure and things like that. So we're trying to sort of fill that gap.
And I'm guessing you are very good at your job based on those top five.
Well, yeah, it was once I got the job first, and then part of the sort of promotion, I was already there, but I wasn't doing this. And part of the promotion was doing some strength finders training with Lori Weir, the coach here in Jackson,
Yeah.
and we went through one of her seminars, and it sort of made everything make sense, right? It made my boss was much more confident in his decision to promote me to this position. I was much more confident in my ability to do the job, and it was just a very great thing. And ever since then, I'm all about strengths finders and trying to implement it and get other people to use it in their lives as well.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that it gave you that reassurance, right? That, yep, this is definitely where I'm supposed to be. But when you can see that related to your talent, you're like, I don't, because it's about how we do things, right? So some other talents might be able to do it, but like you are just perfectly suited to really maximize the most of your talents. I can see in the position that you have between strategic, making those relationships, woo, being able to go and have those conversations easily, maintaining communications. Awesome. Love it. So for those out there who don't exactly know what woo is, we always start with Gallup's definition. And Gallup's definition of woo is that people exceptionally talented in the woo theme love the challenge of meeting new people and winning them over. They derive satisfaction from breaking the ice and making a connection with someone. Now, on our own side, on the Strengths Genius side, we always talk about celebrate and evaluate as well. And so there are 4 points that we should just absolutely love about the woo, and 4 questions we can ask ourselves to make sure that our woo is being aimed appropriately on the off chance it might be getting derailed a little bit. And so, Korey, we would love to celebrate your woo because we know that you make everyone feel at home. You are known for your outgoing nature. You are a great conversation starter, and you make socializing look easy. Does that sound about right?
It sounds it's exactly me.
Perfect. And then ways we could evaluate that is, am I coming off as shallow? Am I showing genuine interest in those I'm connecting with? Am I overshadowing others around me? Is my energy matching the room? How does that hit for you?
Yeah, I can think of maybe some times where I've had to think about that, or I realize that maybe I'm on a different page than other people are. And trying to
Yeah,
interact with people who don't also have woo in their top five or top 17,
right.
it it can sort of be difficult. Especially, I mean, a lot of times people are afraid to talk to new people. They're like, well, I don't
Yes.
know, they don't know me, and they don't have a reason to. And I don't know. I think of it as, all right, they don't have any reason not to like me. I want to talk to them. It's not awkward.
High positivity and woo. And
Yeah, exactly. To me, it's like it's like a new friend that you can make, and like getting to know a person and where they're from and what they are interested in is always very exciting.
right, right. Absolutely. Perfect. So, all right. So let's move into our questions. So tell me, what is it that you love about your woo?
I think it makes so many situations easy. For example, when I just graduated college, and part of my major I had to study abroad, and I had to I was a double major and had to study abroad for both. And the second study abroad that I did, I went alone versus with other students from my school. The second one I went by
Hmm.
myself, and I was very nervous about making friends and who would I hang out with and what would I do, because I'm very interpersonal. I don't like to go out and do stuff alone. And there are people who would love to go and see stuff, and see the sights, the monuments, everything like that, and they're content to be alone. And I'm not like that at all. I
Right.
Me enjoying it is solely based off the context and the people that I'm with. But I was very afraid of doing it, and then I was able to go. And when I got there, I very quickly and easily made friends, and that's not abnormal. I worry about it, but then I realized I'm like, I'm pretty good at talking to new people and breaking the ice. I said I don't really hesitate. I'm not the type to just sit in the corner and wait for someone to talk to me, um, and that's proven beneficial in situations such as I was on the improv team at my college. I did improv
Uh,
theater, and it was really fun. And when we would try to recruit people for that, or recruit people for to talk about study abroad at study abroad fairs, in those situations, I was always very excited to stand at the booth, to stand at the table, and get people to come over and explain to them what we did and what it meant for them, and things like that. And it's just some people will be like, "Oh no, we have to go and talk to people again." So I'm back out.
and you're
I'm
like,
so excited.
yes, we get to go and talk to people
It's on my
again.
calendar. It's circled. I'm waiting for that day where I have that opportunity.
Right. No, I totally understand that. That's funny. Um, so if we flip that over a little bit, where have you seen woo can get you into trouble or maybe isn't
Well,
always at its best?
I fail to realize that everybody else isn't on the same page, right? So I talk about how I'm so prone to go talk to that person who's sitting alone, maybe, or to talk to just, a stranger, right? Because to me, it's like, okay, they're a stranger until, 2 minutes from now when I learn their name and things like that. But sometimes I will make other people uncomfortable because they do see me as a stranger. They don't have woo, like I said, and they don't. So I have to be careful and conscious to sort of still be aware of their emotions and things in those
Yeah,
situations. And my natural proclivity is not to hesitate at all. And
sure.
sometimes I need to sort of slow down and realize this person is maybe a freshman who's very afraid of me because I'm a senior, or this person is just a person that I don't know, and they're just, for no other reason, I don't know them, so they're not super prone to listen to what I'm talking about. But I hit the ground running. I'm talking about, what's your favorite TV show? You like Netflix? Where are you from? Why are you here? And I'm asking 20 questions and barely waiting for answers. It's it's one of those things. So, and you realize that some people, like you talked about in evaluating your woo, you have to think about, how are you making these people feel? Are they really, you know, on the same page as you? Are you
Right.
sending positive vibes? Are you making them uncomfortable? Because sometimes you're supposed to be winning others over, but sometimes you're turning people away if you don't approach it carefully. So sometimes I have to step back and,
Yeah.
you know,
Kind of take the temperature, right? Take the
yeah,
temperature of the
yeah,
room, take the temperature of
exactly.
the person and go, okay, this person needs to be a little bit more aware. And I love that you brought that in there because I was really even thinking about it is a lot of times we think of woo as just being like the social butterfly and really outgoing and super extroverted and, these sort of really dynamic personalities, which often they are. But if the true goal of winning others over is really someone who should be easily approachable,
Yeah,
someone who is easy to talk to, someone who you put your trust in rather easily. And so that idea of winning others over is also really about observing, you know, the level of interest, the level of ability to engage, right, of someone else. So I think when we really think about it as the winning others over factor, I think that can kind of shift maybe even how we're using the talent.
Yeah,
when you think about it.
For sure. Like Joe, one of the hardest things for me is dealing with younger people. And on one hand, I interact with them well, and I tend to ingratiate myself in groups of younger people well. And the reason why that's important for me is because I also teach on the side.
Right.
So I have a job, a second job where I teach a couple of math classes for homeschool students.
Okay.
And one of the things is, like, you being a teacher, you have to make sure your students are comfortable with you and that they somewhat like you. Not necessarily you have this really close friendship. It can still be like teacher-student, but you still need to make sure they're comfortable learning from you and feel relaxed in your presence and things like that. And it's hard for me because when I go in, I'm just like talking to students, you know, treat them like I know them, because I do that with most people. I just treat them like I already know them. And they're sort of like, especially with homeschool students, are less socialized and things like that. So I can sort of like scare them away when they're like, oh, Mr. Adams, you are talking to us, and like, I don't know. And I'm just like making jokes and things like that. And they're just like looking at me like, I don't know you. You're making these jokes that I don't know. Like, this is weird. And I don't know, when you're a teenager and you're like insecure about stuff, and you're, you know, being a teenager is just like the hardest years, I feel like, of a lot of people's lives, because you're still growing and changing. And I just like, that's been one of my most recent challenges, is trying to connect with them. Because like adults in college, it's easier, because I feel like even though you have your guard up, it's not as high as the guard of like a 15-year-old boy or girl.
Sure.
A lot of times.
Sure.
So being aware of that has been one of the biggest challenges for me recently.
Yeah, awesome. So you're still young. You just got out of college, but even before you knew this as talent, like, what were you like in elementary school? How have you seen woo kind of showing up throughout your life?
It's actually pretty weird. I grew up very timid throughout middle school, and maybe until like the beginning of high school is when it changed. But I was fairly timid. I was the type that if you sat beside me, I would maybe make jokes, you know, and maybe if you at the lunch table, I could hold conversations with my friends, but I wasn't talking to everybody. But in high school, I sort of changed. I don't know. I just, I don't know. I just sort of that's when I sort of became the social butterfly. That's when I sort of became the person who would talk to everyone and really seek out people and make more connections unprompted. And that was sort of when I saw the change. And in high school, everybody sort of knew me. Not saying that I was just like the super popular guy or anything like that, but
Right.
everybody knew me, and I could pretty much sit at anybody's table because I knew everybody I went to a small school. There was only like 97 in my graduating class. So it was a smaller school that you could reasonably know everyone. And that wasn't the case for some people. It was only, like I said, 97 in my graduating class. And there were people who couldn't name everyone, but I could. Like, I could sit there. I mean, I was class president, so I could sit there and name every single person, first and last name, because that's just what I do. I talk
That's
to
just
everyone.
who you are. That's just who you are.
Yeah. Over those 4 years, that was
Yeah.
a goal almost.
Well, that's kind of funny. So I'm curious about this just because we share woo. So I'm interested in this because what you say actually really resonates with me. And I've honestly never thought about like how woo is always really shown up necessarily. But elementary school, I talked a lot, but I really didn't have any friends.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Like, so like that communication would show up. I would talk to people a lot, and it was always like, Joe would be a great student if only she would stop talking. Right. Like,
exactly.
So I was always talking to people, but I really didn't have friends. I didn't have groups of friends. I would have like one or two good friends, but feeling comfortable talking to a lot of people. I didn't. I was really still pretty shy. And then something happened in like 7th, 8th grade where that just shifted. And I know
Yeah.
part of it is I changed schools, but I don't know really what happened for me. Is there anything that you can kind of consciously put your finger on that shifted, or do you think it was just kind of growing into yourself?
I don't know. And part of it is just like the freedom of kids to interact more. I think the older you get, because I mean, in elementary school, you're like in class and you don't really have a ton of free time to talk to a lot of students. And versus in middle school, where you're changing classes, you talk in the halls, you have more free time, you're in more extracurricular activities, probably things like that. Maybe can be a part of it. I don't know. I know confidence in talking to people versus, one of the biggest lessons in elementary school is don't talk to strangers. I don't know. I don't know. I can't really explain it, but I do know that.
No, that's okay. I was just curious. I realized I hadn't really thought much about it, but what you were saying was kind of exactly what I went through. I went from like being very shy to kind of being class president and, all of those things. And even now, I think if you gave me my kindergarten class picture, I could probably name everyone in there, but I wasn't friends with most of them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So like, it was interesting because I haven't really thought that through. So I was just curious if maybe there was something that clicked for you that said that. So yeah, very cool. So what would you want someone to know? Because, right, if somebody doesn't have our talents, we may not be understood the way we want to be understood with what our intention really is. So what would you want those who don't have woo to understand about you so that it could help, have a better relationship?
For sure. I would probably highlight to me, what seems like the biggest positive and then sort of the main drawback. And the biggest positive is that I'm, like we've talked about, not afraid to engage new people and not afraid to have conversations with people in contexts that would be awkward on the sole basis of a lack of a relationship, a pre-existing relationship. A lot of times, somebody is doing something. For example, we had, like I talked about, I was on the improv team, and we would have our practices, and like sometimes a person would walk in and want to watch the practice, and we didn't do that because it's a distraction and all these other things. And a lot of people would be like, how do we talk to them? What do we say? And I'm just like, they're a person. I just walk up to them and explain to them. I mean, it wasn't anything bad that they did, or we're not trying to be mean. It's just like, our practices are closed. So sorry, but our next show is soon. Come watch. Versus everyone else would sort of just huddle up and be like, how do we handle this situation? So I would explain that being, having woo in my top, strengths, that's sort of how it plays out. And you can sort of rely on me in that way and things like that. The drawback is probably, I have a friend who is a relator, right? She's a other management person at the escape rooms. And from what I understand, relators are more about close relationships, a few of them, and they're all about investing in those relationships. Versus woo, to me, is sort of like the opposite. I'm the type where I'm all about speed dating, where I talk to the first person, get to know them, I move on to the next person, get to know them somewhat, move to the next person. Anytime I'm at a socializing event, for whatever reason, I want to get to everyone. Like I want to have spoken to everyone before I leave.
You've got a goal.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas some person, like sometimes I'll start talking to somebody and they will sort of get relaxed and comfortable into the, the conversation, and they find me, interesting enough to continue talking to me. And I'm like, yeah, this was good. And move on to the next person.
This is great. I got to talk to that person. Don't let them leave.
I got to get to, and I had this bad habit of like talking to somebody and I'm like looking away and I'm like looking at this other person who's like maybe about to walk out, and I'm just like, all right, they might be about to leave. So I need to wrap this up so I can get over there to talk to that person. And I have to be really aware of it, especially to not offend people, especially like in my job trying to network. Sure. Sometimes I'm in situations where there's a lot of different people that I want to meet and need to meet from a business standpoint, but I don't want to be disrespectful to the person that I'm meeting right now. And I have the habit of being not in the moment, but ahead and like thinking about the next person and what I want to talk to them about. So that's probably another thing that I would want people to know about woo. It's like, all right, I have to, you need to reel me in. If we're working together, you might need to reel me in, or I might need to just be conscious of and try not to be offended by it. It's just my personality is such that I am ready and excited to talk to the next person.
Oh, I bet. And I mean, and I could easily see that as a strategic woo too, right? Like you're, all right, we got to move on to the next one. Here's the plan. This is what we're going to meet. This is how we're going to go. This is what we need to do. Yeah. And certainly being aware of those, right? Like I know that I have those moments too. And it's having that moment to say, it has been so amazing talking to you. And I really want to continue this conversation, but I know we're getting close to wrapping up and there's somebody that I really want to meet. I've got this goal of asking this question. Would you please excuse me? Right? Like, would you please excuse me?
Yeah.
You know, because I don't want to miss out on my opportunity, and, you know, let's continue talking. Let's have a coffee sometime, right? Like make that kind of gentle escape.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts of being promoted was getting business cards. So it's always perfect. I can just be like, all right, so here's my card. I would love to continue talking about this. Maybe we can get coffee and just like do that. And I'm always about it. Like, and it's not that I don't care. And I don't like to say that I lose interest quickly because I feel like that sounds bad, but it's all, to me, the big, I don't know, adrenaline rush is the new person. The more they become familiar, which is, you know, it's our strength to do that, to make them feel like a friend quickly.
That's where you go with your friend. That's where you go with your work partner, right? And you get the conversation going, and then you leave her and you move on and get the next person.
Exactly.
Right? So you team up and it's like Wonder Twin powers activate.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right. So we kind of touched on this a little bit. And so I'm curious if you've come up with anyone in your head, and I'm going to see if anybody occurs to me right now, but think about fictional characters or famous people or TV personality or whatever. Who comes to your mind when you think of woo?
Probably the two people that I have been able to think of. One was Will Smith, and more Will Smith in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the show, versus, you know, just Will Smith. But I think Will Smith also has his personality, and I've heard of actors who worked with him and interviews and talked about how he's very friendly and approachable and, you know, personable. But in the show, especially, he makes friends and is not afraid to talk to anyone, and he will just talk to people, and that like ends up being to his benefit, right? He like in one part of the show, he goes to a new school, and at first he's very nervous about it, but then he starts making people becoming friends with them, and he ends up being like a part of groups and stuff like that. And versus his like cousin in the show, who's been going to the school and doesn't have as many friends as he does. And it's, to me, I see myself as sort of like that. It's just like, yeah, I go to this new place and I make the friends and I connect with the people, and it's not hard. I'm okay in, I don't know, any type of situation, whether it's like a romantic flirting with someone. It's like, you know, a lot of times friends will be like, how do I talk to this girl? Or how do I talk to this guy? And I'm just like, they're a person, you go talk to them. And I understand people who have that strength. You know, I know it's different, and it's good that I've done the strength finder stuff, and I know that it's just people don't have that same
It's just
strength.
not their thing. It's just not their thing.
They're not prone to that sort of behavior. But learning like that helps me see, it's like, all right, yeah, that's what I have, and that's why it's so easy for me compared to other people especially.
So have you been considered a flirt among your friends?
Yeah. Even
if you don't mean to be, do most people think you're flirting?
And it's not even, and it's being a woo combined with, I know like it's a different thing, but love languages, if you ever talk about those, one of mine is words of affirmation. So I'm all about communicating compliments and things like that with guys, girls, whatever. I'm just all about being friendly and like complimenting and just making people feel good.
And I'm sure you're smiling a lot. Right?
Yeah,
making eye contact, smiling a lot.
For sure. Making sure they leave the conversation feeling like I just was trying to boost them up, you know? Yeah. And so, yeah, I've gotten that. Like, why are you always flirting with all these people all the time? And I'm just like, it's not flirting.
I'm just talking.
I'm just talking. This is just how I do it.
I was nominated as most flirtatious in high school.
Oh,
and people always said, how do you flirt so easily? How do you talk so easily? And again, before I knew woo or anything like that, but it's absolutely echoing my experience. And I'm like, I
Yeah,
guarantee you, and especially with communication and positivity, I guarantee you people are calling you a flirt and think
for
you're
sure.
flirting when you're not, just because, you smiled and made eye contact.
Yeah. It just, with communication, I mean, having done improv and I also was on the debate team all 4 years, I'm all about speaking in a way that is gripping, and I'm all about trying to make listening to me enjoyable,
Sure.
right? And that's
When's your
just,
TED Talk?
yeah,
When's your
exactly.
TED Talk? I want to know when your TED Talk is.
I'm planning on it. I'm working it out. I'll email you.
Awesome. Perfect. Um, I love this. So totally not about woo in specific, but I know you said at the beginning that learning your strengths and kind of getting this gave you a little bit more reassurance, right? Like kind of showed you why you were good at doing what you're doing, right? And
Yeah.
where you were so good. Why do you, what impact has strengths made on you? And why do you think others should get out there and figure out what their talents are?
Oh, for sure. I think in general, it gives you a set of vocabulary that is very useful in solving problems, in terms of working with others, in terms of understanding yourself and how you work better, how your coworkers work better. It makes it so much easier because I understand like why my coworker reacts that way. Because it was the weird history of me and the coworker that I talked about. We're sort of like the two management, and we work together. But it was weird because I started working there before her, and I was management over her before, and she wasn't management yet. And then I sort of left for a while, came back, she was management, and then now we're both management. And our boss works really close with us because it's a relatively small business. And so one thing that it made easier is his top 5 strengths are all in like my boss. His are all in the strategic thinking. All of his are red, right? All of his top 5 are like ideation, strategic, like planning, whatever they are. Like he has
Right.
top 5 all in that area, and he doesn't have any in his top 10 that are execution based.
Okay.
So we always talk about plans, and he's always has a new idea, and a lot of times they don't come to fruition, and we're just like, and it's very frustrating and things like that, and we didn't really understand why, and now it makes so much sense. He
You're
will
like,
come up with an idea
oh.
so easily, and I share like 2 of mine are in that area because I have ideation is my number 1, and
Sure.
strategic my number 3. So I get that too, but it helps me understand him better, and it helps me relate with her better because she doesn't have like a woo, or I don't know if there's any orange in her top 5. So she is not really about interpersonal. Her second is relator, right? So she's all about communication or about relationships that are lasting and have depth. Versus I don't operate that way. So talking to people, especially
Right.
if there's a problem, something goes wrong, and there's like some customer service needs to come up, and that sort of thing. I'm more prone to be able to handle that situation, and she's not, because
Right.
well, they're going to be mad, and it's going to make talking to them even harder, and that's not really an issue for me because of woo,
Right.
right? And and being able to like understand that and know whether you are management trying to get the most out of your employees or just employees working with other employees, I think it helps you understand people in a way that you don't have to talk about what people aren't good at. You can talk about what they are good at, and those are just not lined up maybe with what you're good at or what is maybe
Right.
useful in a certain situation. But you can avoid those if you're like, well, I know this person has this strength, which is going to be the most useful in this situation. So let me put them in this spot, in this position, instead of someone else. Because especially if you're like have a bunch of people to choose from, you're trying to think who would best work in this, and you think of something that you saw them do well. And I learned about interpersonal communication. A psychological thing is the halo effect, where they're good at one thing, and you think they're going to be good at everything, right?
Right.
So somebody does a really good job speaking, and you're like, wow, they're really talented, they're really smart, whatever. And I'm going to put them in this situation where they have to organize a meeting or something like that, or organize an event. And it's like, they don't do that. They communicate well, but planning might not necessarily be their forte. And Strength Finders lets you see that the other person who was really bad at speaking and didn't want to speak or whatever, they would be really good in that situation,
Right.
right? The halo effect, it gives us this bias that, oh, this person is really good at this. They're probably going to be good at these other things, and that's not how it works. Strength
Right.
Finder helps debunk that bias. because you know what they are actually good at, and you understand they were good at that, but they won't be good at this thing. And I don't know. I think it's super useful in that way. And even outside of a business context, it's just useful to know which friends are more strategic focused and planning focused. Like some people are like, all right, we're going on vacation this weekend. All right, I want to plan who's driving, how long each person is driving, where we going to stop and get gas, where we. And then there are people who are like, I don't know, let's just leave on Saturday. It's like, what time Saturday? It's like, well,
whatever.
Whatever it feels, whatever, I don't know, when everybody's ready, is whatever. And you see these like conflicts that happen because this person wants every step to be planned and organized, and this person is just more about getting it done, making it happen in the moment. Like one of the things about my coworker, I'm strategic, I'm ideation, I want to make a plan, I want to know what's going to happen, and she's more about her top is restorative, about fixing problems, and she's more about let's start it. If we run into an issue, we'll fix it and it won't matter. Versus I don't want to run into the issue in the first place. But she's all about starting, and if something happens, we'll face it we'll cross that bridge when it comes. And I've always hated that phrase. we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. When we get to it, we'll cross that bridge. And I'm just like, but if we know that the bridge is coming, why not plan?
Why not plan for how we're crossing the bridge?
Yeah. So I think it's very useful as a means of problem solving and interacting with others.
Awesome. I love that. Just out of curiosity, have you had any of your friends or any of your family do the assessment?
Not yet. I had a friend who turns out when he went to the college he goes to, they had all the freshmen do it. So it was cool to get to see his. And I want my family and stuff to take it. They just haven't yet. But everybody should take it. I want everyone to do it. I want my students in class to do it. I want my coworkers to do it. So yeah, I've been talking about it a lot since I've done it. I think it's so good.
Well, I love that you love it, and it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. And it's so nice to hear someone else with woo, because there's other people out there with woo that I don't know that I always feel like I relate to. I feel a little bit more in alignment with your woo, which we know they're talent themes and they show up different ways, right? Depending on what the other talents are that we have. So it's been really interesting to sit and talk with you today. So thank you so much for your time, Korey.
Thank you for having me.
For everyone else that's out there in the Unique Genius world, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for downloading us and listening later. We're happy to have you out there. As always, we're still doing our 1-minute podcast where you can get a minute to a minute and a half quick snippet of what's great about a talent or what it looks like when it's raw. We're doing our big deep dive and we're on week 23, so we still got a bunch to go. If you're looking at tuning in this week we are talking about includer. So, hope everybody out there has a great week, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 11:30 Central, 12:30 Eastern. With that, signing off, and have a great time. Bye.
All right.